Well, there were three other candidates on stage last night at that Democratic debate as well. We're talking about former Senator Jim Webb, former Rhode Island Governor Lincoln Chafee, and former Maryland Governor Martin O'Malley. Now, O'Malley took a shot at Republican frontrunner Donald Trump, referring to him as a, quote, carnival barker. But that was just one of a very few personal attacks of the night, as those candidates stuck mostly to the issues, including answering who they feel is the greatest national security threat to America. So take a listen.
It's certainly the chaos in the Middle East, there's no doubt about it.
Okay.
And it all started with the Iraq invasion.
Governor O'Malley?
I believe that nuclear Iran remains the biggest threat, along with the spread of ISIL. Climate change, of course, makes cascading threats even worse.
Secretary Clinton, the greatest national security threat?
I think it has to be continuing threat from the spread of nuclear weapons, nuclear material that can fall into the wrong hands.
Senator Sanders, greatest national security threat?
The scientific community is telling us if we do not address the global crisis of climate change, transform our energy system away from fossil fuel to sustainable energy, the planet that we're going to be leaving our kids and our grandchildren may well not be habitable.
Senator Webb?
Our greatest long-term strategic challenge is our relations with China. Our greatest day-to-day threat is cyber warfare against this country. Our greatest military operational threat is resolving these situations in the Middle East.
Okay, so just to recap there, China, Middle East was 1-1, nuclear, Iran 2 times, and then climate change, 1 from Sanders. So you think, who had the most passionate delivery on that, you think?
Well, Sanders,
yeah,
for sure, and he got the applause in the theater.
I think Jim Webb looked most presidential, being able to tick off by different categories this type of threat, whether it's a the cyber threat, the military threat, by just being able to break it down, because it's more of a matrix than just this is the one threat.
Yeah,
it's like,
that impressed me,
on.
hearing his response, because it is a multi-pronged threat that needs to be addressed on different facets, and so he addressed that, I would say, the best.
In that debate last night, I was kind of looking for Lincoln Chafee to do something. He's a heavyweight. He was a governor of Rhode Island. He was a senator. His fathers were governors there of states, and I just kind of figured that he might step up a little bit, but I didn't think that he really did.
No, and just in looking at, I didn't see all of the debate. You look at the clips, and I don't see anything where he either commanded attention.
No, he did not.
I think the 3 people who won, obviously Hillary Clinton, she didn't have any big stumbles. Bernie Sanders introduced himself to America, came out as passionate, and I think he did a good job of handling the issue of the being a democratic socialist by addressing it head on and defining himself. And then Jim Webb, because he looked presidential. Martin O'Malley, former governor of Maryland, I wasn't terribly impressed with. Not that I was unimpressed, but he didn't do anything like Lincoln
that's
Chafee.
Your moment to shine.
Right. I concur with that.
Yeah, sort of step up and say, okay, I'm a real contender here.
Sure. It was interesting to hear that of all 5 of them, the one who got the most additional followers on Twitter was Bernie Sanders. I think it was like 23,000 or something like that. Of course, Donald Trump, who was tweeting live during, he got 60,000, so go figure.
So 60,000 for Trump, some 20, 30,000 for Sanders, about 10,000 for Clinton, and then several thousand for the rest. That was interesting that he actually got more.
Yeah, I think Martin O'Malley went over to Lincoln Chafee and said, "Can I follow you? Can we follow each other? I got one. I got one."
Lincoln said, "What's Twitter?"
Yeah, right, exactly. After the break, a car care expert from Bell Tire will share some tips on winterizing your car, because as Game of Thrones fans know,
winter is coming.